You ever sit back and wonder why you keep attracting the same toxic people into your life? Or better yet, why you find yourself dating the same type of person over and over, even though you swore you'd never go down that road again? It's like the world is on repeat, playing the same broken record. And while it's easy to point the finger at everyone else, to call them narcissists, manipulators, or even emotionally unavailable, and while those things are valid, there's another question we have to ask ourselves. Why do we resonate with people like that? Why do we feel drawn to them? And why do we keep letting them in even when we know better? These aren't easy questions to ask. They're very uncomfortable because they force us to look in the mirror. But that's where the real growth begins. So today we're going to be diving into why we attract the same toxic people, why we keep choosing them, and most importantly, how to break the cycle for good. So let's get into it. First, let's talk about patterns. Patterns are comforting. They're familiar. Even when they're destructive, they give us a sense of predictability. And in relationships, we often gravitate toward what we know, even if it's not good for us. So maybe you grew up watching unhealthy dynamics in your family. Maybe you were taught either directly or indirectly that love looks like chaos or control or neglect. Whatever the case, those early experiences shaped our subconscious idea of what a relationship should feel like. And here's the thing about the subconscious. It doesn't operate on logic. It doesn't say, this person is toxic, so stay away. No, it says, this feels familiar, so it must be safe. And that's why you keep going back and forth with the same type of person. It's because your brain is wired to seek what it knows, even if it hurts. Breaking the cycle starts with awareness. You can't change a pattern you don't recognize. So you have to take a moment to reflect. What similarities do your past relationships have? Is it the lack of emotional availability, their need for control, their tendency to make you feel small? Once you identify the common thread, you can start to unravel it. But recognition alone isn't enough. You have to dig deeper and ask yourself why these patterns keep showing up. Are you drawn to people who mirror your insecurities? Do you feel the need to fix people because it gives you a sense of purpose or control? The more honest you are with yourself, the clearer the picture becomes. And once you have clarity, you can begin to disrupt those patterns one decision at a time. Here's a hard truth that I had to learn. We attract what we haven't healed. If you have unresolved wounds from your past, abandonment, rejection, betrayal, those wounds become magnets. They draw in people who trigger those same feelings, not because you're doomed to suffer, but because your mind is trying to recreate the situation in hopes of fixing it. It's a psychological loop. If you felt abandoned as a child, you might unconsciously seek out partners who are emotionally unavailable because you're trying to win the love that you didn't get back then. It's not a conscious choice. It's a subconscious attempt to rewrite the story. But here's the catch with that. You can't heal your wounds by repeating the same cycle. You have to step out of it and heal from within. Let's take this a bit further. How often do we find ourselves ignoring red flags because we're so focused on the potential of what someone could be? That's not just optimism. It's a reflection of a deeper emotional need to prove that we're worthy of love, even from those who can't give it. Healing your wounds means no longer needing someone else's validation to feel complete. It means giving yourself the love and understanding that you've been seeking from others. Why do toxic people feel so magnetic? It's not because they're extraordinary. It's because they play on our need for familiarity. If you're used to relationships being chaotic or unpredictable, then stability might actually feel boring to you. And so you gravitate toward the chaos, not because you want it, but because it feels normal. This is why healing is so important. When you heal, you redefine what normal feels like. Stability starts to feel like peace instead of boredom. Healthy communication starts to feel comforting instead of overwhelming. But you can't get there until you break your attachment to the chaos. And that takes time, that takes patience, and it takes a willingness to sit with the discomfort of change. So ask yourself, are you drawn to people who make you feel alive because of the highs and lows they bring? Or are you seeking genuine connection? The highs and lows, they might feel exhilarating, but they're also very exhausting. Real love doesn't leave you emotionally drained. It lifts you up. So recognizing the difference is key to breaking free from the cycle of familiar chaos. This is the part where things get very uncomfortable because while it's easy to focus on what they did wrong, we also have to look at what we allowed. What red flags did we ignore? What boundaries did we let them cross? What behaviors did we excuse because we didn't want to start over? Accountability isn't about blaming yourself. It's about empowering yourself. It's saying, okay, I see where I went wrong, and I'm not going to make that same mistake again. It's about taking control of your choices instead of feeling like a victim of circumstance. And the beautiful thing about accountability is that it gives you your power back. You realize that you're not stuck in this cycle. You have the ability to break it. Accountability is the first step to freedom. It's not about beating yourself up or dwelling on past mistakes. It's about learning from them. When you hold yourself accountable, you stop waiting for someone else to change and you start to make changes in your own life. And that shift, that's where the real power lies. To break the cycle, you have to rewrite the narrative. You have to let go of the stories that you've been telling yourself about love and relationships and your worth. If you've been telling yourself that you're not worthy of a healthy relationship, that's the story that your actions will follow. If you believe that all relationships are painful, that's what you'll attract. But what if you changed your story? What if you started telling yourself that you deserve stability, respect, and a love that doesn't hurt? What if you started believing that healthy relationships are possible for you? It might feel unnatural at first, almost like you're lying to yourself, but over time, those new beliefs will take root. And when they do, you'll start attracting people who align with them. This isn't just about changing your mindset. It's about changing your boundaries. You have to start small, set boundaries, even if it feels uncomfortable. You have to speak up when something doesn't feel right. If it doesn't sit right with you, speak up and celebrate the moments when you choose yourself over someone who doesn't value you. These small changes add up. And before you know it, you'll be living in a whole new narrative and one where you're in control of your happiness. Healing isn't linear and it's not always pretty. It's ugly. It's messy, it's uncomfortable, and often it feels like you're taking 2 steps forward and then 1 step back. But trust me when I say, the process is worth it. When you're breaking cycles and rewriting your story, you're going against years, maybe even decades of conditioning. That takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of patience. And there will be days when you'll feel like giving up, when the old patterns might seem easier to slip into. But those are the moments that define your growth. Healing requires you to sit with the pain that you've been running from. It asks you to face the parts of yourself that you've been avoiding, the insecurities, the fears, the wounds. And while that might sound overwhelming, it's also the most empowering thing that you can do because once you face those parts of yourself, they lose their power over you. You start to see yourself not as broken, but as whole, as someone who's learning and growing every day. One of the hardest parts of healing is trusting the timing. It's natural to want to have quick fixes and to hope that that one aha moment will change everything. But the truth is, healing is a journey, not a destination. You'll have moments of clarity and you'll have moments of confusion, and both are equally important. Trust that every step you take, no matter how small, is bringing you closer to the life and the love that you deserve. And remember, you're not just healing for yourself, you're breaking cycles for the generations that come after you. Detachment is one of the hardest yet most powerful skills that you can learn. It doesn't mean that you stop caring. It means that you stop clinging. It's about letting go of the need to control the outcomes, to force relationships, to hold on to people who've already shown you that they're not meant to stay. Detachment is freedom. It's saying, I trust that what's meant for me will find me, and I'm not going to have to chase after what isn't. When you practice detachment, you stop reacting to every little thing. You stop taking their actions or their lack of actions personally. You realize that their behavior is a reflection of them, not you. And that's when you start to feel free. Free from the constant worry, the overthinking, the endless attempts to prove your worth to someone who doesn't see it. Detachment allows you to reclaim your energy and refocus it on yourself. Think of detachment like pruning a garden. When you let go of what no longer serves you, so that's the toxic relationships, the self-doubt, the need for external validation, you can make space for new growth. You can create an environment where healthy and fulfilling connections can actually thrive. And the best part about that is detachment, it doesn't mean that you're giving up. It means that you're making room for something better. And that's not a loss. It's an investment in your future. Let's talk about boundaries. So boundaries are not walls, they're guidelines. They're a way to teach people how to treat you, and they're also one of the most important tools in breaking toxic patterns. When you've been stuck in a cycle of unhealthy relationships, setting boundaries can feel like a foreign concept, but it's essential if you want to create the life and the relationships that you deserve. Boundaries are about self-respect. They're about saying, this is what I need, and I'm not going to compromise it for anyone. And yes, boundaries will make some people feel uncomfortable, especially from those who benefited from your lack of them. But that discomfort is not your responsibility. Your responsibility is to yourself, to protect your peace and to prioritize your well-being. And here's the beautiful thing about boundaries. They don't just protect you, they attract the right people. The people who respect your boundaries are the ones who value you for who you are, not from what they can take from you. So don't be afraid to set limits, to say no, to walk away when someone crosses the line. Boundaries are not about shutting people out. They're about letting the right people in. Love is a word that gets thrown around a lot. But what does it really mean? For many of us, love has been tied to struggle, to sacrifice, to giving more than we receive. But real love doesn't hurt. It doesn't demand that you lose yourself to keep someone else happy. Real love lifts you up. It respects your boundaries and it meets you where you are. Part of breaking the cycle of toxic relationships is redefining what love means to you. It's letting go of the idea that love has to be earned, that it's something that you have to work for. Love is not a transaction. It's a connection. It's mutual respect, it's mutual effort, and it's mutual growth. And if you've been settling for less than that, then it's time to raise your standards. Start by loving yourself the way you want someone else to love you. Treat yourself with the same kindness and the patience and the compassion. When you show up for yourself in this way, you set the standard for how others should show up for you. And trust me, the right person will meet you at that level. Not because they have to, but because they want to. Because when you know your worth, you attract people who see it too. Pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. The experiences that hurt you don't have to define you. They can refine you. Every heartbreak, every disappointment, every setback is an opportunity to grow stronger and to learn more about yourself and to become the person that you're meant to be. When you shift your mindset from victim to survivor, you reclaim your power. You stop asking questions like, why did this happen to me? And you start asking, what can I learn from this? And in that shift, you find your strength that you didn't even know you had. You realize that every tear, every sleepless night, every moment of doubt was just preparing you for something greater. Think of it like a storm. It might leave destruction in its path, but it also clears the way for new growth. Your pain is the storm, but your power is what comes after. It's the resilience, it's the clarity, and it's the unshakable belief that you know you deserve better. So don't let your pain break you. Let it build you. You are not your past. You are not your mistakes. You are not the people that you've dated or the patterns that you've repeated. You are a work in progress, and that's a beautiful thing. So keep going, keep choosing yourself, keep doing the work. If this message resonated with you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And let's keep this conversation going in the comments. I love hearing from y'all. Let me know if this was an eye-opener, if it spoke to you at a time that you needed it. And also let me know some steps that y'all are taking to break the cycle and to choose yourself. So I can't wait to hear from y'all. Y'all never shy away from letting me know how y'all feel. So thank y'all so much for your support. I really appreciate it. And I will see y'all in the next one. Love y'all. Bye.